When tropical weather strikes, turn to the Fox 35 Storm Team.
Across the four of us, we have decades of experience when it comes to forecasting, watching, and tracking systems.
Whether you've lived here for years or now calling Central Florida your home, depend on the Fox 35 Storm Team as we track the tropics.
Thank you for joining us for our special Tracking the Tropics report. I'm Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner.
Brooks, good to be with you, my friend. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jamie King. You can depend on the Fox 35 Storm Team to keep your family safe year-round.
Yeah, especially as the peak of the hurricane season approaches. Here's what we've got for you coming up over the next half hour.
I'll take you inside a state-of-the-art wind tunnel at the University of Florida and explain how it's helping to make buildings stronger against tropical storm force winds and water. Plus this.
I'm Kristen Giannis inside Miller's Hardware in Winter Park. They've been open for over 75 years, and they're telling us exactly what you need to get before the big storm hits. It's all coming up in our Fox 35 Storm Team special report.
We are at FAS Windows and Doors to put hurricane impact windows to the test. You are not going to want to miss it.
All right, so how is the 2021 season stacking up to date? Well, we've already had 3 hurricanes, Elsa, Grace, and Henri, and there have only been 6 other seasons at this point to have been this active as far as the total amount of hurricanes go. The next name on the list is going to be Ida. We're already almost 40% through the list, and this is a top 5 season so far in total storm days. We've had 29 days where a named storm has been active and alive, and there's only been 5 other years that have been this active, with storms active to date for 29 days or more. So let's talk about the season. The original forecasts for the season versus how they're stacking up right now. On average, keep this in mind, we only have 14 named storms and 7 hurricanes. Now, last season was epic. We had more than double that total. Originally this season, the forecast was for up to 20 storms, so another really active one. But the latest update from NOAA, up to 21 storms. So because it's been so active, it's expected to continue. So here's the scoop. Why has it been so busy? Why will it continue to be so busy? Sea surface temperatures warmer than normal. That is the gasoline to the fire for these storms. Shearing winds are lower than normal. Wind shear, ironically, can tear apart these big wind makers, and as those wind shear levels are low, it allows the storms to grow. And finally, the Pacific Ocean/weather connection is favorable. And if you follow this stuff, I'm talking about El Nino versus La Nina. Right now, we're edging toward a La Nina, which is cooler than normal eastern equatorial Pacific waters. That, in turn, believe it or not, lowers the wind shear values in the Atlantic. So we've got 3 major elements which could lead to a major storm year. Jamie?
Brooks explains a lot. Great points, my friend. Now, when it comes to tracking tropical systems, we know about the satellites and aircraft, but there's a unique tool at the University of Florida, and it towers above the rest.
These portable wind towers may not look like much, but they're our first line of defense against future hurricanes.
Make better predictions where it's going, the intensity.
33 feet of steel and iron deployed by scientists right where a storm is making landfall. It's part of the Florida Coastal Monitoring Program. Crews use the data collected and compare it to the damage caused by the storm to have a better understanding of the strength and intensity of these storms.
You need to know what the wind speeds were that caused that damage so that we can go back and improve our design codes accordingly.
Dr. Brian Phillips with the University of Florida gave us an up-close look at one of the towers and explained how the information is collected.
As we're monitoring the wind field at 2 different heights, also the atmospheric pressure, relative humidity, and barometric pressure.
The university has 4 towers with plans to deploy a 5th tower this year. The information is shared with the National Hurricane Center along with state and local governments to help deploy resources to the areas that got the most damage.
We're providing a ground truth, so you see what's happening up in the atmosphere. Sure. We're providing that information, what's happening down at the ground level. Right.
Now, from the coast to the skies, high-tech drones are dropping right into the middle of storms. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Allison Gargaro shows us exactly how they work.
The Altea 600 is a drone designed for flying into Mother Nature's most ferocious weather.
As a test pilot, getting to do any test is exciting.
The technology is being called a potential game changer in hurricane forecasting. And NOAA's Aircraft Operations Center in Lakeland is at the heart of the research. Commander Adam Abbott-Ball is a test pilot for the study.
Right now we're using these dropsondes, which give us a lot of the atmospheric state variables we're looking for: temperature, pressure, humidity, winds.
But these dropsondes have limitations. Once they fall and hit the water, they stop gathering data. That's where the Altia 600 drone comes in. Using a similar sensor, it's able to collect continuous data as it flies through a storm.
The Altius essentially gives us a movie of all of that data, where this may give us a snapshot or a picture.
Weighing just 25 pounds, the drone was built to withstand some of the planet's most destructive weather.
So the winds won't bother it at 25 pounds?
We'll see. It's moving around in the same air mass as those winds. It's going to be subject to those transient up and down drafts, just like our aircraft. The math and data suggests that it should be survivable, which is great. So the next step is to go prove that.
The fully controllable, fully autonomous, and fully programmable drone will take to the air this hurricane season and be tested for the first time ever in a storm environment. It'll launch out from the bottom of an AP-3 plane, unravel into a drone in mid-air, and begin its data gathering mission.
These planes don't necessarily fly where it's most dangerous, but that's where you say some of these drones could come in handy and kind of fill that gap?
That's right, Tony. So we actually go right in the middle of the storm, somewhere between 8,000 and 12,000 feet. But some of the really important data that we're looking to get is in the hurricane boundary layer, that level that is closest to the ground.
That information invaluable to forecasters when a storm threatens.
As the technology evolves, it only helps our mission. And our mission, again, is just to help protect life and property.
And that is a bumpy ride. Take my word for it. I flew in 2012 with the No Hurricane Hunters. It was like being on the bumpiest roller coaster you can imagine. Well, water, batteries, and flashlights, they're essential in every hurricane supply list. And one hardware store in Winter Park has been open for decades. And over the years, the owners have figured out the most important tools to have. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Kristen Giannis met them.
Winter Park had about, what, 3,000 people in the winter and maybe 1,500 in the summer, because before air conditioning, everybody went north that could afford it.
Mr. Bob Miller knows a little something about the weather. The 94-year-old has lived in Winter Park since his dad opened Miller's Hardware in 1945. He says storms have always been good for business.
Everybody else hates them, but we love them if they don't do too much. If they don't do too much damage, because we make a killing during a hurricane.
And he's still talking about hurricanes Floyd, Charlie, and Jean.
Winter Park's a wonderful place.
Miller's son Steve is now running the business. He says there are a few things you should pick up before the big storm.
This is one of the great cleanup items, big trash bags. You want to have them. You're going to use them anyway. Buy them now, so you have it.
Miller says a chainsaw is another good investment. It'll run you about $300.
The main thing about a chainsaw is like any gas engine, it needs to be used. You don't store fuel in it for a long period of time if you don't intend to use it.
And another great item to have for cleanup, a sturdy rake.
If there's too much debris, you go to this type of a rake that'll hold it and it won't break.
And if you're thinking about a generator, Steve recommends 5-gallon gas cans.
Think of 5 gallons giving you about 10 to 12 hours of run time at max. So you're buying enough fuel to carry you for 3 to 4 to even 7 days with wise management of using your generator. The more you plug into the generator, the more it's going to burn the fuel.
At the end of the light bulb aisle, you'll run into a wall with some family pictures. The 4 generations of Millers who have kept the lights on.
President Nixon's 2 daughters came in and shopped here when he was president.
Mr. Miller says he survived a heart attack and bypass surgery.
I really shouldn't be here. I have water on my lungs, but I keep going.
And now he's the local celebrity. Reporting in Winter Park, Kristen Giannis, Fox 35 News.
Oh, that was great. Well, sandbags are another helpful tool to prevent flooding and reduce water damage to your home during a hurricane season. This is very important. But there are a few things to keep in mind. First, don't fill the bags all the way. That'll make them easier to stack. And next, when you're stacking them, place them lengthwise and parallel to the direction of the water flow. Finally, stagger the bags for better protection, similar to how you would lay bricks.
Coming up on our Tracking the Tropics special report, I'll take you inside a state-of-the-art wind tunnel right here in Central Florida to see how simulated storms help build stronger homes and buildings. It's really cool. You got to stay tuned for this. Plus, handling a hurricane, Allison puts impact-resistant glass to the test.
But first, one more reason to download the Fox 35 Storm Team Weather app, interactive tropical tracks. So in the app, go to the map tab. Then there's 3 little dots on the bottom right. You click on those, then you hit overlays, and then you can click tropical tracks. You can get the latest updates as soon as they come into the Fox 35 Storm Center. To get the app, just search Fox 35 in your phone's app store.
Welcome back to Fox 35's Tracking the Tropics special report. Make sure your insurance coverage is up to date. As the peak of the hurricane season approaches, hurricane deductibles can be between 2 and 10% of your home's insured value. If you live in the flood zone, make sure you have flood insurance. Remember, flood damage is not covered under most home insurance policies. Also, a big reminder, you cannot make changes to your policy once a hurricane warning is issued.
Thanks, Brooks. On August 24, 1992, Hurricane Andrew made landfall in South Florida as a Category 5 hurricane. The storm flattened homes and moved the state to update building codes. Right now, there's new research going on at the University of Florida to make sure every building is ready for whatever Mother Nature brings.
Making the world a safer place.
Yeah, wind hazard research is really critical because it helps us understand how wind affects structures.
Dr. Jennifer Bridge with the University of Florida wants to make buildings better. That's why she spends hours of her day in the state-of-the-art wind simulation tunnel.
In this facility, we're able to simulate the effects of an urban environment and kind of going from marine to urban to suburban to understand how that wind is going to affect the structures.
The tunnel can be configured to recreate the topography of nearly every place on Earth.
We can just study the flow itself. How do different terrain conditions create different wind fields?
And show how that wind will interact with different buildings.
The cross-section, the configuration, the geometry of the building, you know, how that wind behaves when it separates, how it reattaches on the other side. These all affect the loads that the structure sees.
Information that helps make buildings better, safer, and more able to withstand the forces of Mother Nature.
Life safety, of course, is the #1 goal of this facility, but if we can improve design in other ways, we're going to certainly do that as well.
Your home is your line of defense of tropical systems. Hurricane glass for your windows and doors may be a worthwhile investment. To keep your family safe, Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Allison Gargaro puts it all to the test.
I'm Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Allison Gargaro here at FAS Windows and Doors. So, have you ever wondered just how strong a hurricane impact window is? Well, we're going to put it to the test for you. What we have behind me are 2 sets of windows. One of them non-impact, like a lot of people have in their homes right now. The other is that hurricane impact window. And the difference between the two is the impact window actually has a piece of laminate in between 2 pieces of glass. So that's going to stop any flying debris and or tree limbs from entering your home. So without further ado, let's go put it to the test. First, the non-impact window. Look how thin the glass is. It shattered into a million pieces. Glass was everywhere. Next, the impact window. Let's see how it goes. As you can see, a 20-pound weight barely made a dent. This is Rob. He has a bit more muscle than me, so let's see how he does. We talked with the owner of FAS Windows and Doors, John Wilding, about why it's so important to have hurricane impact windows in your home.
A window breaks out in a storm, that's an entry point for air, and that's how people lose their roofs. Once you have an entry point for air and negative pressure to get inside the house, that's how big storm damage happens. So it's really imperative to keep the envelope and the outside of the house completely intact during a storm.
Allison Gargaro, Fox 35 News.
Great piece, Al. Thank you so much. Still to come on Fox 35's Tracking the Tropics special report. Brooks will break down specific inland threats from tropical systems and explain why everyone, and we mean everyone in Central Florida, needs a plan in place. Plus, inside the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck, we'll show you what makes it so valuable and our promise to keep you safe when severe weather rolls through.
But first, one more reason to download the Fox 35 Storm Team Weather app, Video Forecast. Just open up the app and this is what you will see. And then you're going to scroll down on the home page. You'll find both forecasts. This is from Fox 35 Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Jamie King. And then there is one on the tropics. Remember, you can depend on the Fox 35 Storm Team to bring you the very latest updates, as we do update these videos regularly throughout the day. To get the app, just search Fox 35 in your phone's app store.
Welcome back to Fox 35's Tracking the Tropics special report. The Northeast has already seen its first landfall of hurricane season. Tropical storm Henri weakened from a hurricane before making landfall along the coast of Rhode Island. The system drenched New York City. In fact, the National Weather Service says nearly 2 inches of rain fell in Central Park in only an hour's time. That's the most since recording began. Hurricane season got an early start this year. On May 24th, Tropical Storm Ana formed in the Atlantic. However, it quickly weakened. You may remember the 2020 hurricane season also started early. The first storm Arthur formed on May 16th. Brooks?
Yeah, Jamie, one thing about these hurricanes that is often easy to forget, but a pretty vivid reminder when it's in progress, tornadoes. In fact, hurricanes can spawn 20, 30, 40, 50 tornadoes in just one storm in one area. And there have been some notable tornadoes in the past associated with hurricanes. The problem with these tornadoes is that there is very little warning offered because they move fast and they form fast. Rarely are they very strong, but still at EF2, that can do a lot of damage. Hurricane Ivan, you probably remember that one, spawned 120 tornadoes, near record levels in recorded history. The infamous Hurricane Harvey 4 years ago this week spawned 52 tornadoes across southeast Texas and in Louisiana. Hurricane Andrew, yes, Hurricane Andrew in 1992 across South Florida, 28 tornadoes, but some of those were very big. Irma spawned 25 tornadoes. So when a hurricane threatens, you've got to remember the tornado threat. And it's all about the quadrants. The right front quadrant of a system. Quadrant, right? There's 4 sides. And the right front is if it's tracking in one direction, that'll be the side to watch. That right front quadrant is the one that can provide the most, producing the most tornadoes. Now, most hurricane spawn twisters do form on that right front quadrant. So if you're in that zone, you need to pay special attention. Oftentimes, that's where the tornado watches are issued. They can be a significant inland threat, by the way. So even if the hurricane is way offshore in the Gulf, we could see tornadoes here across Central Florida. They tend to form on the outer bands. So well before the system arrives, the tornadoes can spawn.
Thanks, Brooks. Coming up on Fox 35's Tracking the Tropics special report, it's the latest tool in the Fox 35 Storm Team's arsenal. We'll take you for a ride in the Thunder Truck.
But first, one more reason to download the Fox 35 Storm Team Weather app. Detailed forecasts on the app. Just click the daily tab at the bottom of the app and then tap a day. Any day you want to see, and you'll get the evening forecasts as well as what time the sunrise and sun sets, as well as the UV index. And remember, to get the app, just search Fox 35 on your phone's app store.
Welcome back to Fox 35's Tracking the Tropics special report. Make sure to follow the Fox 35 Storm Team on Twitter. Each of us tweets out regular updates on the tropics, also your local forecast and much more. We're also on Facebook and Instagram.
When severe weather strikes, depend on the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck. It's our latest tool in our arsenal to help us keep our promise to you. It's packed with technology that tracks the storms before they get here and tracks any threats to Central Florida in real time. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Allison Gargaro gives us a closer look.
I'm Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Allison Gargaro, and this is the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck. It is our newest member, and it will keep you and your family safe. But let's get inside and take a tour of all that this heavy-duty truck can do. We are in the front seat of the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck, and there are 4 cameras on board. The first you're looking at, it's looking at the reporter, so we can give live conditions of what we are seeing outside and potentially driving through your neighborhood. But the 3 others, first is the front-facing camera. So this is what the Thunder Truck is driving toward. This is a look out the back of the Thunder Truck. So really great to use for road conditions. You can see if the roads are wet or if there's ponding. It will help give you insight if you were planning on heading out the door. And the final camera is on the roof. We get a 360-degree view, and you can take a look at cloud conditions if there is any storms that are threatening your area. And then all the way in the back, you can see there is our satellite. Now we're outside the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck, and take a look at just how big and heavy duty this truck is. If you take a look up, there are several floodlights, so that is great for actually tracking storms in the dark. A little bit further down, take a look at these big tires. I mean, they can drive through anything. And finally, out the back, we have a 50-inch monitor. There we can track the live radar or give you your latest forecast. I want to let you know that this Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck will keep you and your family safe, so you can depend on the Fox 35 Storm Team. I'm meteorologist Allison Gargaro.
And this is cool. The Thunder Truck is also on Instagram, so check it out. And be sure to download the Fox 35 Storm Team weather app to get the latest updates right from the Storm Center.
I love it. You can always depend on the Fox 35 Storm Team to keep you safe during hurricane season and all year long. Thank you for joining us for our Tracking the Tropics special report.